SIO taping for plantar fasciitis. You would have to get special tape, but you can go get it at any pharmacy pretty much. It's called rock tape or kinesio taping tape. And follow the instructions, plus play and pause until you get that taping so that at least you can function. I've heard it all.
The kinesio taping,
Yes.
Which one do you think will be better? Of course, I guess you're saying the kinesio taping would be better than the transdermal cannabis pad.
With the muscles, and I understand that because that's what people come for. But the inside of your ankle, first of all, do you know what plantar fasciitis looks like?
Just like everything good in life, I'll take it low and slow and then work your way up until you can tolerate the pain, you know what I mean? Just like good sex or anything else, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So, absolutely. So, it's a little bit better if you had a professional do it, but you can have your partner work on your feet and work around the ankle. It's very nice, and especially when you have an infused oil. Oh, my goodness, because it kind of calms you. I would take a tincture and the balm. So therefore, it's interacting with your whole body, because if you're tensed up, it's not going to work.
So I'm thinking maybe something with some linalool, terpenes, to make it a more relaxed. Because I know the cannabis that I used in this one was more stimulating, like with limonene.
What do you have access to right now?
What I have access to is the same cannabis. It's the stimulating kind.
So what you're talking about actual flower? Do you have any access to oils right now in your home?
I have access to flour that I can make into oil.
Okay, so how much are you willing to make into oil?
I mean, I could make a lot of it into oil because we don't really use much of it.
So think about this. The longer you cook it, the more those terpenes are going to transfer into CBN and CBL, which are the sleepier ones. By the time you finish cooking it through that process, you're going to convert most of that THC into some of the CBN and CBL cannabinoids just because of overexposure to heat. And so that's going to make it more of that sleepy, relaxing blend. The other thing to take into account is that your endocannabinoid system is going to do with the cannabinoids what it needs to. So take it with whatever intent, you know what I mean, you want. But I think if you want to convert it into oil and make something out of it, you can do that. Does that help?
That definitely helps. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm
You're
ready to
so
go
welcome.
back running. And the problem is, it's like, I want to get through this uphill.
Right, and just make sure that you're not sitting on the same cheek. You know, make sure your behind is evened out in that chair. And I found that a lot with my clients now.
Yes, work on your ergonomics. Absolutely.
So
Thank you.
Yeah, balance is everything. And how are you?
I love that.
Good morning, ladies.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you inviting me onto the stage. I have shared energy very briefly with the beautiful Ebony. I haven't seen her, but I know she's beautiful. And conversation because I'm enjoying it, first of all. And I have a tendency to be really, 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 really quiet and shut down when I'm uncomfortable because I'm an introvert. I'm a bona fide introvert, but not because I'm shy. It's because I'm selective. And I just want to address previously. Well, first, let me do the last verse. Shout out to with the advice you just gave regarding the making of the oils and tinctures because that's one of the common pieces of misinformation that I hear a lot in the cannabis industry in terms of potency and sativa versus indica and what have you. And they're all valid. They all have their place, but it is true that according to a number of things, a number of variables, it can change the potency and the direction of where your cannabis takes you, whether it's indica or sativa. So, and that can be from how long you cook, the temperature you use to cook. It can go all the way back to the growing of the plant and how long you let it go before you harvest, how red you let the
Yeah.
hairs get. So the long and in terms of that, I'll be brief with that because I don't know how many people are even doing that here. I'm not, but a, I have sufficient experience. But anyway, yeah, you can actually have a plant that's intended to be sativa, but you let it go too long on the plant, or you let it cure too long after you harvest the plant, and it can become very much indica. So that was very, very a great recommendation that I believe
Thank you.
yeah, that I believe we'll never hear in common education. I hear so much miseducation with some of our most trusted leaders in the, I'll say, newly legalized industry, because there's still a narrative that has to be met. We've gone our entire lifetimes being misinformed, so they can't just jump in and let you know. That goes into another thing because we've been lied so much in the
Girl, don't worry, don't worry.
yeah, the whole yeah, the whole pharmaceutical industry is on that thing. Yeah, and so I'm at the point where I get most of my education literally from our ancestors, our herself, and my body's reaction, my physical body's response to it, because it really can be different for everyone. Also, like everyone can respond to one particular strain as an indica, and there might be 30% that it affects, like it makes them go turn flips or something. So there are variables, but that outline is important for guidance for people, entering into venturing into using cannabis for their wellness. In regards to the subject about massages, well, let me see if anyone wants to say anything first before I tell the massage story.
Just go ahead, sis.
Okay, thank you. In terms of the massage, well, I fucked around and found out. Well, we fucked around and found out that my husband is allergic to cannabis. The, no, it's not that bad, but yeah, he's allergic.
No, that's bad. It doesn't matter how bad it is. It's too bad.
Yeah, so what had happened was he was
I love
it's it's not graphic or anything, but he was, he has different issues. One of them, which used to be plantar fascitis as well, but he has different issues that we have used in conjunction with cannabis. And because I'm the cannabis, this is a literal cure-all in the household. Anything that can raise or lower high blood pressure when it need be, or like opposites, if it's too high, it can lower. If it's too low, it can it's really a beautiful thing, and I have come into my love for it. But anyway, so I was massaging his back, and of course I wanted to use my infused oil. He gets rashes sometimes, but in the process of using this on his back, he started welting up, like when he gets with his rashes. And I was like, oh no, bro. I was like, I think you're allergic to cannabis. And he was like, no. I was like, I'm not even kidding. And what we noticed after that was we went back in time and we were like, it seems like whenever you crumble, because he makes I call it packing my doses for me. He likes to do that for me. And so he crumbles it. And there's no problem. But when if he scratches his face after he makes a dose for me, it swells up a little bit. And so I was like, yo, you're allergic to raw. But the reason why it's not so bad is because it's like the raw cannabis. Like he can't touch the unburned raw cannabis and then touch his body, I think.
I wonder if it's a specific terpene in the cannabis that he's allergic to, because most of them are dominant. They'll have like humulene or myrcene, just because humulene is one of the grandfather terpenes, right? So I wonder about that. Have you had and tested for that?
No, I have not, and we probably won't, because we're still the war on drugs.
That, right?
Well, even so, I'm
to
still
a whole nother level, but I like it.
right.
Girl, don't start me. Yeah.
I love starting you, girl, because we get some good conversations out here.
Well, it sounds like it would be a whole trio of things happening, popping off with that. So because there are a lot of
I'm
lessons.
so sorry, he's allergic.
Yeah, well, it's not a problem because it's all we do is I have the doob tubes and I just put they're pre-crumbled.
No, because you can't experience cantaloupe, but like cantaloupe is so next level, girl.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
Oh,
It is nothing to fuck with.
you know what? Let me
It is
address that.
everything to fuck with.
Let me address that because one of the reasons why I wanted to do. I promise I'll make this short. So anyway, I was like, oh shit, and they had just started selling hemp oil in the grocery store. It's the only hemp oil I believe is hemp oil because everything else I think is like CBD at the gas station. But it was the first one and it was right at the grocery store. So I was like, well, let me go get the hemp oil. So I did with the hemp oil, and that was fine. So it was the canna, and it was literally the canna infused oils. But what were you going to say? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying that the lube is everything. So, because
Oh, and yeah, I've always wanted to try a topical, which is why I ventured into infusing the oils initially. And I've always wanted to try a topical. And I don't know if I'm not getting it right or if the infusion, and I don't know how I would go about ever finding out how to get it right or if I get it right, but I can't seem to get it into oil. The RSO is I think y'all already know about that. I don't even have to.
yeah, but why are you using it as RSO versus the just?
No. I just threw that out there, but I'm talking that I got the RSO down. That is
What
my.
about just a plain coconut oil or black seed oil?
Well, that's what I'm saying. The oils. I'm just separating, letting you know that I'm not talking about the RSO because that's the whole different ball game. That doesn't even use oil at all. Yeah, that doesn't even use actual oil at all. But I'm just.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So are you saying your husband is allergic to the THC cannabinoid and not the CBD cannabinoid?
I can't say that because there are, again, the education has been confused. Because it was hemp oil. Because the CBD oils.
Going back to this, sorry.
I'm sorry. That's okay. Let me tell you, because my impression is that hemp oil is hemp only, and the CBD is just a cannabis plant with a lot less cannabis in it. So to me, CBD still.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I got you.
So hemp has absolutely no THC whatsoever.
Okay, I got you. So like for me, I don't. For me, hemp is a dirty word that the United States came up with in order to try to control the CBD cannabinoid because they took out a patent on it.
Let me say this. I completely agree. I only mentioned that because I used that on his back. I'd never use hemp oil, just hemp oil. I believe they use that to bastardize cannabis as well. But go ahead.
Yes. Okay. And then Aja, I wanted to tell you in terms of the linalool, I wanted to go back to you because I did remember that you did say that. What I was going to tell you is make a big batch of the oil with whatever base you use. And then when you go to massage, you can add the individual terpenes. Now, I will tell you, you can use essential oils, very high food grade essential oils. But if you can afford to get cannabis derived terpenes, then I would absolutely recommend those above the high grade food essential oils. All organic is what I would always recommend. But yeah, you can add whatever terpenes you want into the oil once you've already made it. But my recommendation is to add them as you use them.
So how would I use terpenes separately?
Whatever you want. Sorry, what was that, Blue?
How would I use the terpenes separately? I think I'm not understanding how would I add terpenes separately.
What I'm saying is to make the base, so for example, I make infused coconut oil. So I make a big batch of it. I literally have a huge, what do you call them? A ball jar, like a jar of it, just kind of sitting. I have one that's CBD only and then one that's CBD and THC.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I go to do the massages, if I'm massaging myself and I want to add, for example, lavender oil because the linalool terpene happens to calm me down and I think it's fantastic, then I'll put a little bit, like 1 or 2 drops into my hand along with the oil, excuse me, that I took from the jar. So or I'll make a completely separate batch that has some cocoa butter and shea butter infused into it, along with the coconut oil that's infused, and then whatever terpenes I want to add to it. I don't have a ton of money, so I can't get cannabis-derived terpenes. So I just have my organic high-grade oil that I get locally sourced, for example. Does that answer your question?
I think I'm not sure, to be honest, because like again, like you, I have no problems with making the oil, but I think I'm under the impression that adding the terpenes is what will activate it physically when using it
No,
topically.
yeah, no. So the terpenes, so it's scientifically what they've come up recently, because I had a
Because
bunch
I
of
thought the terpenes
can
were just the smell,
no,
actually.
well, so here's the thing is that when people there's also isolate, broad spectrum, full spectrum. So that's a whole different conversation that we can have another week. But or you guys can come to my CBD 101 on Fridays, or we discuss it on cannaPLANT. Just check out my profile. You'll see all the rooms that I host. But I like to talk about this stuff over and over again. Um, but no, the terpenes. So there was a bunch of us that asked about this, because a lot of us are out here making products with CBD derived oils or with other oils.
Right.
And people are using isolates or broad spectrum, and then they're re-infusing with other terpenes because it's called relaxing. And so they add technically linalool, maybe they're just adding lavender. The terpenes that come from the plant and the
Oh,
flavonoids and all of that,
uh-huh.
that is the best one. It's the one that has full spectrum, the one that nothing's taken out of. That is the best one to make your oils with. That's what I make. I take my CBD flower and I take my THC flower, I grind it up, decarb it, and that's what I make my oils with at home personally. And that's also the base oil that I use for my suppositories, for my massage oils. I put it in my coffee. I use it for my son's cuts and bruises.
Okay.
So what I was saying is that it's always best to have the natural terpenes that are in the plant. However, if you make your oils and you want to add something extra, I think that's what I was asking. Yes, in the end, you can add a couple of lavender drops or something to help make that oil more relaxing. Does that help?
It does help. I actually have lavender oil from our garden that I infuse, and that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, because I can't use essential oils are a little bit strong for me, especially lavender is very strong. So I grow a lot of medicinal herbs. So I harvest our medicinal herbs and I make infused oils. So I think I'm going to add that at the end. This is wonderful. Such great information.
It's so beautiful. Hi, Matt. How are you?
Hi, Maggie.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're just having fun learning how to make lovely, lovely things for ourselves and our partners.
Yes, I'm interested.
So we were asking in the beginning, we were talking about, this upcoming weekend and how we're all going to be somewhat in our divine feminines, whether we're by ourselves with our polyamory, me, myself, and I, or whether we are with an actual partner. And so we were curious as to how you potentially might use massages during intimacy, or how you use any infused cannabis to help you rehab your body.
So, it was that for me, directed to me?
Yeah, why not?
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah, I'll answer it. So, for me, to get a little personal, if you don't mind, after I had my daughter, it was a 3-day long, like full blown.
Do you get those muscles activated or have your partner activate you?
I do. Actually, those are the muscles that are just naturally tight on me. I do a lot of kind of like bodybuilding. I'm not huge into it. I don't compete or anything like that, but I do it a little bit seriously. So I work on a lot of lower body things. So my lower body's very tight. So just naturally, he does target those muscles, but it wasn't something that I thought about specifically targeting beforehand, which makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, because those glutes, I always say, knead the dough.
That's not affected. So I was listening to Tamika talk about her daughter's skin condition, Well, the skin has its own endocannabinoid system that's working. All these systems are working independent on each other. So when one goes down, you can just imagine down the road somewhere you're going to see another system go down as well, because all of these things are interconnected and need to work together in harmony. And that's the basic job of the endocannabinoid system. Number one, maintain harmony. Number two, to repair. And number three, to protect the body. That's its role. And when you begin to think about the other systems that are affected, what we call the bigger picture, the endocannabinoid dome, then we're talking about the serotonin system, which controls mood and behavior quite a bit, right? So when I, as a clinician, have anyone come to me and tell me about their disease processes, and most of them have more than one, I make them list them, and then we go through and try to treat the top condition, because we know we're going to hit all those conditions. So when it comes to something like mental health, just think about the serotonin system that's gone astray and how cannabis helps. Well, why cannabis helps? Because it's not part of the ECS. It's a part of the bigger picture. But THC works on that serotonin receptor, what we call the endocannabinoid dome. Then you have your dopamine receptors that THC and CBD and some of the other cannabinoids work on as
Am I
well.
being pinged?
So you don't have the ECS working in isolation. That's what a lot of people are making that mistake. It's working on other systems as well. So when patients ask, well, why does it take care of so many things? Well, it's because those receptors are everywhere on the body. And I try to tell patients, don't wait till you get
Thank you,
sick.
Dr. J.
Understand that you need to see what cannabis does, or the psychedelics, or whatever it is we're looking at, because even a baby, a newborn infant, has an endocannabinoid system. So I
Thank
recommend
you.
people do on a daily basis, whether they're healthy or sick, at least 25 to 50 milligrams of CBD every day,
Thank
just
you.
to prime that endocannabinoid system, endocannabinoid
Thank
home.
you.
And not that I'm trying to give medical advice, because I truly, truly cannot. But I can give you suggestions. For example, my two little
Thank
grandsons do
you.
take 25 milligrams of CBD a day. And I bet they're not going to ever be labeled as ADHD and then be put on those horrible, horrible drugs that they put those children on.
Thank
Because we're
you.
trying to protect their endocannabinoid systems from the start. And why do we do that? Because we live in this very stressful
Thank you.
stressful world. Whether it's economics or, relationships at home or financial, whatever it is, it's a stress to the body. Stress causes inflammation, causes disease processes. And depending on who you are genetically and the way you respond to stressors is what you're going to manifest as a disease process.
Bitch.
So you can have two people with the same disease process, but they respond differently because of their genetics.
Bitch.
And the tone or the health of their endocannabinoid systems and how they respond.
That's all I was
we like
telling
to
it
talk
her.
about, with that N of one, the study of one. And this is the way medicine should have always been practiced. It's how you respond, not the 50,000 member
Thank you.
FDA double-blind study.
Thank
it's about
you.
individual or precision
Thank
care.
you.
So if I had to give advice to patients or anyone else, is understand you have that endocannabinoid system, and then you look at all the things that affect that system, including cannabis being the most versatile. But we talk about cannabidic practices like massage therapy or acupuncture or yoga, deep breathing, all those things that affect that endocannabinoid system. And I tell people, if you want to get into the cannabis space, educate yourself a little bit, because it doesn't have to be touching that plant.
Yes.
But some of the ancillary services that provide to the bigger picture. There's just so much opportunity here.
Girl.
And it all starts with just a little bit more education, understanding, the global picture, right? That reunification of everything, that universal picture. It starts there, and you can find a space here. And let me tell you another thing. The reason why it's so important for, in particular, people of color to understand this, see you later, to understand this is because, number one, health. And health, not just your physical health, but your community health. And I love, Tamika, how you started your product, because we need more of us to do things like that, to take, to take command of their own destiny, their financial destiny, their community destiny. Cannabis gives us that crack in the door to do this, even if you don't take care of the plant. There's other things on that supply and demand chain that we can do that contribute to the whole industry, but at the same time, allow us some financial independence, going forward. So, and where it was before that, and where we are.
Pivotal EDU.
in the years since legalization
pharmaceutical
has begun
education
happening.
for
And then from there, we go into
education.
the science, starting with the very basic building blocks of the physiology of the endocannabinoid system. And, you know, for us, when we're going out and trying to educate the public or other healthcare professionals or policymakers about cannabis, we always start with the history and the science, because we still have to do a lot of work to disarm folks when it comes to talking about cannabis. You know, I think Cecilia earlier sort of spoke to this, where you have to challenge people to get past their initial defensive stance when you start to talk about cannabis, because for all of us, probably all of, like most of the people on this call included, we were all thoroughly conditioned that cannabis is dangerous. It's a drug of abuse. It's a gateway drug in the worst ways possible. We all know that that's not, but we had to have that moment of looking beyond that curtain to start to learn more. And so starting with the history and the science helps to do that. That's one thing I would mention sort of in response to Baya's question. And also, you know, when it comes to institutions of you know, higher education and whatnot, you know, that's definitely a space that we are also working hard to get into, because we recognize that we need to start this education early. And it's not just about, you know, educating about cannabis as medicine, but it's also about educating about how cannabis can be used as a tool for many things, and how, you know, how people can develop skills to work in the cannabis industry in many different ways. You know, whether it's plant touching through, you know, agriculture and cultivation, or it's marketing for cannabis companies. So, and there are already a lot of, well, maybe I shouldn't say a lot, but there are already several universities around the country that are integrating cannabis curriculum onto their campuses. So, you know, when it comes to trying to convince, you know, hospitals or colleges or universities or whomever that it's time for them to catch up to the times and start considering including these sorts of materials into their education, I have no problem with the peer pressure of like, look, there are other universities that have started to build this into their offerings. They're, you know, pulling in more students. You know, there are many reasons that various institutions should be interested in starting to integrate cannabis education into their curriculum. So that's another, I guess, just brief point of advice. Look to the institutions that are already doing that and use them as an example to try to bring some of these slow pokes along.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, and I'm hopefully following all the moderators. And to add to, so thank you for your question. I hope we got you enough resources that you can begin doing the work that you need to do. And we thank you for your service as well. So important for medical professionals to really start looking at this plant as medicine. So real quick, I just wanted to reset the room. We've got a new moderator to the stage, cultivating and the different products that come out from this plant. There's so many that we're learning about and that are new and interesting. And so the dates, it is my honor to share a stage with her and share space with her anytime I can. But Jorge, I have not forgotten about you, neither you, Nydia, but we're going to come right back. I just want to give the Duchess an opportunity to introduce herself and tell us her why into cannabis and how cannabis has saved her life.
Hey, Duchess.
What's up, Liz?
Hey,
I'm having like the best day right now. I mean, especially since I had like a couple Zoom calls and my brain's turning. Hi, everybody. I am a hash maker and cannabis cultivator here. And I am a writer and currently serving as the managing editor to say how cannabis saved my life, which is a little different than everyone else, but I think important. It was a soft type of thing. Cannabis saved my life because of my mental health. My anxiety, you know, it's not just a go-to. We all are dealing with anxiety. I found myself to be a pretty introverted person when I'm not being as bright as I usually am. I'm pretty extreme. And I've gone through periods of being a hermit. Excuse me, I don't really share this very often, but one time I went 17 months without leaving my house. So, oh my gosh, I'm being vulnerable. Cannabis, I'm also generally pretty stoic too. So, cannabis saved my life in helping me get out of that hole. And the truth of the matter is, honestly, I'm pretty predisposed to anxiety and pretty rough depression. So it's a daily situation between mindfulness, exercising, some yoga, meditating, a lot of praying. I've been kind of dour like my whole life. And cannabis allows me to pull back the veil that allows me to be as bright and as open as I can possibly be. And because I know, and the thing is, I don't have any health concerns besides freaking narcolepsy, which is not nearly as fun as it looks like on TV. But I don't have any health concerns or anything like that, other than my mental health, which has been a constant battle with therapy since I was little. So cannabis has saved my life in the fact that I don't have any suicidal ideation or anything like that, but it has saved me from just being a rock, just being, and not being able to play my steel pens, paint, make hash, grow weed, or whatever. So cannabis is, it seems kind of simple, but cannabis is there just to help me be me. So that's all I'd say about that.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing your
Thank you
truth
for
with us.
sharing that so much.
Yes, we do. There's so many of us in this room that needed to hear that right now. So thank you for just being so honest and just so true to who you are. And, hearing you say those words is so hard for me to believe. Just seeing you, the bright light that you are, that you were dealing with that. And there's another thing I'd like to add, and I know you probably want to speak to this as well, but, before I actually got a chance to meet her in person, I was just reading her posts and that helped me to understand better how to use psilocybin. I never microdosed or understood what that really meant, and I like to call her, my fungi godmother, my fairy fungi godmother, but she kind of just in her honest post, and if you guys aren't already following me too, psilocybin has helped me so much with my mental health, and she just played a big part of that. From a distance, she might not even know that, but from a distance, she just was so instrumental in helping me to understand how to harness the power of psilocybin, and when it comes to using it to open up your third eye, of course, and how important it is to your mental health. So thank you, Duchess, for all that you do.
Thank you.
Can I just say one thing to the thank God? Thank you so much for sharing your story, because last week was a hard week, and it was one of the days was my godbrother telling me the same exact story that you just told me. So I know it's hard to tell that story because you kind of got to relive the trauma a little bit, but now you're giving me tools and talking to him to how to cope with this thing we call mental health. He is a cannabis user, but that's why I'm fangirling right now, because this is the confirmation that I'm in the right place, and I appreciate you so much for being courageous to tell your story, and I just love you even more because you did that for me today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for allowing me to share. Sometimes I trick myself, and you don't have any problems. You look at all the other problems that everybody has, and I feel for them also. But when I'm like home and everyone, the truth of the matter is I am always smiling, not because I'm faking, because I don't have the actual energy to fake. By the time I'm smiling, I'm really there. But the truth of the matter is I'm an on and off switch. So there could be times where it's like I want to be there, but I'm so not. And I'll just disappear. My family knows. I mean, I left my own wedding. I just decided I was done. And I just left and was getting married at family member's house. And I went upstairs and I told my mom to tell all those people to go home because I'm not coming back down. But it's known in my family that I'm kind of like that. It's not that I'm mean or something, but sometimes I'm just done. And cannabis is the thing that I honestly am willing to be in the airplane with a vape pen in the bathroom. I'm being honest. I'm that person that they're saying don't do that. But if I'm gonna kill all y'all. So I need a couple cups right here. And edibles doesn't work for me. And edibles doesn't work for me not because edibles don't work. Edibles don't work for me because they work way too well. So anything over 20 milligrams, and I'm melting on the ground, and I don't like feeling like that. And I'm usually making my own kind of edible thing with my hash, and hash is whatever. So the situation is that it seems minor for a lot of people who deal with some kind of persistent dysthenia or just a bit of a malaise. I find that being open to sacred plant medicines, and actually for that persistent malaise, I would say the psilocybin on a microdose level. I macrodose also, but a consistent microdose protocol, I gotta tell you, 2020 sucked for a lot of people and kind of sucked for me, but I rode it a lot better than many because of the psilocybin, and I'm always open to talk about psilocybin offline. So that's what I say.
Thank God for that psilocybin. Thank God for it.
I will be DMing very soon. A journey is absolutely necessary.
Thank you. I want you to hang out as long as you can. You're a moderator. That just means you can do what you want. But I just wanted to make sure I gave you your flowers and just thank you for all that you do and being so transparent and honest, because we need more of that in our communities, especially just talking about mental health and physical and overall health and what we do to maintain that overall health. So thank you so much. Real quick, I want to go to, you've been waiting for some time now, and I'd like to welcome you to the stage. Tell us where you're calling from, and tell us how cannabis saved your life.
Hey, how you guys doing? Happy afternoon. Firefighter, 29 years. CBD has been the path that's really straightened me out. I have one of the firefighters that at the station that grows from seed to bottle kind of thing, and his daughter overdosed on opiates, and he was trying to get her into cannabis instead of the opiates, but by the time he did all the research, it was too late, and she passed away. And he's at my station, and I listen to his stories, and again, being a firefighter, 29 years, got the advantage of with ADHD, I get my Adderall. With no sleep and sleep apnea, I get my testosterone. With any time I feel under the weather, they'll give me my antidepressants. It's pretty much whatever you want to get, but nothing's good. And so I started talking to him more and more, and he goes, "Hey, man, you should really try CBD and see if you can wean yourself off all that stuff," because I wanted to see where my cholesterol was. And I've been taking the same dose for testosterone for 5 years with the same number, 700. And she calls me back and asks me, "Hey, did you switch up your dosing?" And I go, "Nope, not at all. Same thing for the last 4 or 5 years." And she goes, "Yeah, it's at 1,400 now." So I was like, holy smokes. So now I got to cut off that little medication from my life. And little by little, I've been weeding off everything. And now I got 2 years left. I'm retired. I'm going to head off to the sunset. I don't have to worry about this no more, but I'm more worried about my brothers and sisters behind me, that when they do make this adult use and they do make this medicinal, we are not included at all. We're not allowed. We get tested. We get fired. It's that simple. Even it doesn't matter what it can do. They'll give us all the other pharmaceuticals that we can take that'll make us addicted, but not this stuff. So that's where we're at. I'm sorry. That was my last rant. I'm sorry about that.
We really appreciate the work that you're doing. I hope that you found some good resources on this stage to connect with and to continue the work that you're doing. What state did you say you were in?
Florida. And I've already started hitting all you guys, and then I started snapshotting all you. Oh, I'm going to message all you people. Yeah, we're good. I'm reaching out.
Please do. I want to make sure that we get you all the resources that you need down in Florida. Our headquarters is there. So make sure you follow her as well. But we definitely want to make sure we get you all the resources that you need. We'll be able to help write the policy, find the right advocates and the right legislators to align ourselves with, because it's well overdue. We keep hearing it over and over again, and there has to be some type of compromise to help people understand what's healthier and better for our servicemen and women. So thank you for all you do. We need you out there as that voice.
I would definitely love to link up with anybody from Florida and try to make some change and try to get this done. And
you never think about how a lobbyist becomes a lobbyist, but a lobbyist becomes a lobbyist because they're taught, they're trained, they make the connections that they. You don't go to college to become a lobbyist, and so I think that I'm just blessed to be able to have the network that I have that has kind of helped frame me, mentoring me to becoming somebody that is affecting change throughout the world, because legislation is such an important part of that. I want to move right along. I'm not going to keep everybody too long. We're going to let the room go on until about 2 o'clock, so I want to make sure that we get everybody on the stage, answer their questions. Am I saying that right?
You did. Thank you.
And how does cannabis save your life, sis?
Yes. Well, you're here in the background. It's saving my son's life right now. But no, as an evolving human being in this experience, I've suffered trauma as a child, as has everybody, and dampened a lot of depression and anxiety over my life, which has culminated into curiosities about my thyroid throughout my life, and eventually caused a thyroid storm and landed me in a hospital. And it wasn't until the endocrinologist came in and said, we're either going to give you medication, radiate it, or subtract it from your body, that I started really delving into endocannabinoid balance. And so now that's become one of my passions, and it's an honor to be on the stage with many of you ladies, because I think it's important that our community realize that just consuming the plant, either by inhalation, but all the different ways that it can be consumed, is not the only way to balance the endocannabinoid system, that there are ways to do it, as Jorge kind of described, he was led to do naturally, which was via his movement, his diet, mindfulness, and decreasing toxin exposure. And so I thank you guys for continuing to put that message out. And I as well am on a mission to put that out there as well. I don't think there's enough of that out there. So thank you.
So what state are you in?
Oh, my bad. I totally left that out. I've met up with Cree, and I know Cree and Brianna work together, so I've gotten on a work group here and really trying to affect the legislation of surrounding education from the ground up.
Fantastic. And so you're in touch with Samuel?
No.
Are you familiar with my medical marijuana?
I just looked up your website as you were talking to Brianna, so I've been looking up here and there as you've been going. So.
Okay, yeah. So that we have a chapter. So if you're into the advocacy and you're into the boots on the ground, we need your voice, we need your energy, we need your passion, because that's what it requires to do the work. And so, definitely, yes, look at the website, make sure you can link with available via all her social platforms. So definitely link in with her, and we'd love to welcome you to the M4MS family as well, because we are in service to you, to our community. That's what we do. So the more that we can help and give you the resources that you need to continue to work, that's what we're here for.
Thank you very much.
Am I saying the name correct, Shawnee? Moving right along. Am I saying her name correct, Shawnee? Would you like to tell us where you're calling from, and how does cannabis save your life?
Hi, I am in DC, and thank you for welcoming me to this room. I've been listening, and I love everything everybody's talking about, sharing everybody's stories. Hi, how are you? Cannabis has saved my life in so many different ways. Personally, I use it for my sciatica, for my anxiety/depression, for menstrual cramp, all these different ways that's helped me that I used to not be able to function on some days that now I can function. And more importantly, it has helped me help a lot of other women. I'm a sex educator by career and have owned 2 adult stores in the DC area. So my main focus is talking to Black women about intimacy and pleasure. And it's one thing to suggest like a toy or suggest, a massage oil, whatever the case may be, to a couple, or to someone that has a vulva to enhance their enhance their pleasure, is another thing to actually have some other avenues for people that actually have conditions, bodily conditions, anxiety issues and things like that are preventing them from having a full sexually fulfilled life. So cannabis has helped me in a lot of ways of my life, but it's also helped me with the impact of my greater mission of helping Black women. So that's basically all I wanted to say. Thank you for letting me talk.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you coming to the stage and giving us your why. I hope you're following all the moderators and great resources throughout the country that are experts in their field, and great resources just in networking, period, and in general. And so everybody, I would imagine, loves sex. No, I do. And, so I think it's so relevant to be talking and educating people about how you use the plant with such an intimate practice that everybody does, whether it's alone by themselves or with someone else or with a couple someone else, however you choose. And so thank you for the work that you're doing as well. Really appreciate you. You spoke a little bit earlier, but please introduce yourself and tell us, where you're calling from and how cannabis saved your life.
I hope everybody is having a blessed day. I'm definitely loving the energy from this room, so I appreciate this room. I've been in the cannabis industry for about 4 years. So my story as far as how cannabis saved my life goes in two different perspectives. Just a little bit on the personal side, I have witnessed my ex-wife's mother be diagnosed with stage 4 bone, lung, and brain cancer. This was when I first started getting into cannabis. I did my research. I gave her a little program, and I am 100% convinced that her 2 months time frame became 2 years, and she had the opportunity to see our daughter be born because of cannabis. So that is one of the things that really holds with me as far as how much I love this plant and why.
I'm sure, like you said, so many other people have so many stories to share about how this plant has saved their lives. And so we thank you for giving this testimony and sharing it with us. And I hope that somebody heard it and they needed to hear it today because it's important for us to talk about these things and continue to. And so thanks again. This is a room that I decided to kind of have a chance for people to tell their stories of how cannabis saved their lives. I want to make sure we get through the people that are on the stage. To my moderators, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you and all your expertise and sharing your own stories. You guys can stay around as long as you can or want to, but I'm going to make sure I get through the people that are left on the stage here, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Thank you for holding this wonderful discussion. I've been enjoying listening to everybody share their stories. My why began at 16 was when I first connected with cannabis, and I was a ballerina, and it changed my life, opened my consciousness, and I went on being very earth-connected from an early age, went on to study to be an herbalist, and became a certified herbalist about 26 years ago now, and that led me into a deeper journey where, I was a businesswoman as well, and I've incubated brands in the health and wellness sector and yoga. I taught yoga to kids for a number of years and sold an organic yoga clothing line. But cannabis was always a part of my life as a sacred plant, and I do believe that the earth is propagating consciousness with her plants so that we may have a renaissance on the planet and have a renaissance in how we are doing business and how we are working with our earthly resources and working with our communities. And there's a great opportunity right now for all of us collectively to unite and to represent and to bring about a great shift forward in our society over the next several decades, of course. And so I also am owner at, which is a 16-year-old global publication. And we, people read the magazine all over the world, and we've been devoted to organics and